There were many events in New York City's parks. In Madison Square Park, Occupy Wall Street hosted a free university where professors gave free classes to May Day protesters. Democracy Now's Mike Burke spoke to some of the participants.
My name is Eileen Myles, and I'm a poet. And I'm out here because there's been an overwhelming year in which we've all realized that we have to do something, and there's become an opportunity through the whole Occupy movement to stand up and say that the conditions in this country and in the world are impossible. And so we can stand together as a group for once. And so as a poet, I'm taking the opportunity both for myself to actually not read poems today and to not write poems today and to kind of resist poetic labor, which I take entirely seriously. But as it happens, I teach a class at Columbia called avant-garde poetry. And so we had to make up a class, and we looked as a group to see how we could take part in May Day. And so Occupy had organized a May Day educational day in which people who were doing similar things to us met and talked about possibilities of resistance in education and new ways of dealing with education as a people. But what's interesting is we came to all the different groups, and none of them seemed to totally be like us or for us, and I had encouraged everybody to bring a poem. So we decided to do the human microphone and to just share poetry with everybody. And so that's what we've been doing for a couple hours, and it's kind of amazing because people are just jumping up on the bench and taking part, and people are reciting poems that they know by heart, and people who do rap are standing up and getting us to do call and response with that. So it's been kind of incredible. Yeah.
Well, can you talk about the importance of poetry in a movement like Occupy Wall Street?
Oh, I think it's primary. I mean, I think poetry is the kind of untrammeled, unedited kind of, whatever human. I mean, the one thing humans do that does make us different from animals is that we have language. And so I think poetry, weirdly, is like the first language and the last one. I think when language was being invented, I think it was poetry before it was anything else. It was kind of religious and shaking and chanting. And I think when languages are dying, often the last old person that knows the language is reciting a poem. So it's sort of like, I think it's deeply embedded even in our genes. And poetry, whenever there've been, poetry, I think for the past 20 or 30 years has been sort of regarded as a little, non-techno, not seen as a media on its own. And but if we think of the 50s and 60s and 70s with all kinds of liberation movements, there was always Allen Ginsberg and Judy Grahn and Amiri Baraka standing in the front of the crowd and reciting poems. Poets were always kind of the human statue giving voice to a lot of needs. And so what's been really cool with the Occupy thing is down on, like last fall on rainy nights, on Friday nights at 9 o'clock, there was a crowd which was the General Assembly, but there was also a poetry crowd, and rainy nights, and tons of us will just be showing up with poems and getting this treatment, which is the oldest way that poetry is ever treated, which is that it's a human chorus, so I think we're all getting the opportunity to see how it really works.
My name is Amin Husain, and I'm with the Direct Action Working Group, and I'm on Occupy Theory 2 and Title, the magazine, and other stuff. But I'm here because it's a free university. I think this movement is all about building community and sharing, and coming up with alternatives to the economic system that's so pervasive in our lives and in everything that we do. These are cracks in capitalism where we can actually give and take on our terms, and it's in a way where people generally could be loving and sharing, and you don't have to, if you don't have a cent and you're at the store, you feel like you can't buy stuff. Here you can get the type of education that costs thousands and thousands of dollars, and I think that exposes the valuation thing in our society. Everything's commodified. Education, knowledge is commodified. And I love the fact that this is free and not that way, and people can learn from each other on a horizontal level.
My name is Ruthie Wilson Gilmore. I'm a professor at the Grad Center at CUNY. I'm also the co-founder of a number of prison abolitionist organizations, most famously, I guess, Critical Resistance, Beyond the Prison Industrial Complex.
And why are you out today here on May Day?
Well, I support the strike, part of the people, and also I brought my class down here, my grad seminar, to conduct our discussion today. We're studying policed with a capital P, the condition of being policed, the history of policing in the modern world, its relationship to things like slavery, inequality, migration, jobs, labor, you name it.
And how does that tie into the May Day protests?
Well, it ties in every possible way. To me, May Day is the day in which we rise up and say we should be free, which means we should control the means of production so that we can have all the say possible in how we reproduce ourselves. So studying policing and studying capitalism and studying racism is a way toward figuring out how to change the future.
And what are your thoughts on the New York Police Department's handling of the Occupy Wall Street protests, and also how it fits into the broader picture of NYPD policing in the city?
NYPD policing in the city is out of control. The stop and frisk policing, which came into being some time ago, and the so-called broken windows policing is only a way to push down and keep down modestly educated women and men, including kids, in the prime of life, who otherwise would, in a better economy, make their livings making, moving, growing, and caring for things and people.
And what advice do you have to Occupy Wall Street protesters today?
Keep fighting. That's it.
On any particular issues?
All of the issues, debt bondage, fighting for jobs, fighting against capitalism, fighting against racism, fighting against transphobia, fighting against sexism. There are all these things to fight against. And one of the things that has me extremely enthusiastic when I look both at the United States and at the rest of the world is that more and more people are rising up in more and more ways to connect the issues of inequality, oppression, and liberation in a way that doesn't reduce, for example, anti-capitalists to, if you're not working in a factory, you're not, a member of the working class, that kind of thing. So all of the things that we've learned over the decades, reading people like Cedric Robinson's magisterial book, Black Marxism, reading the work from the Wages for Housework people, reading the workers' literature, and particularly paying close attention to work like Vijay Prasad's The Darker Nations and what has happened on most of the planet gives us the opportunity and the responsibility to use this thinking and link our struggles.
Ruthie Gilmore, professor and writer, one of the founders of the prison abolitionist group Critical Resistance. Before that, Occupy organizer Amin Husain and poet Eileen Myles.
If you'd like a copy of today's show, you can go to our website at democracynow.org. There you can also read today's show, listen to the show, and you can send it around.